We will address them. But let me put
There are
what
so
you're
many
saying.
offenses.
Yes, you're talking about delayed cases, and the senator was talking about disparity in our law. So let me put that back to the Solicitor General of the Federation, Dayo Akpata. I understand that we can hear you now, you can hear us now. So start from the question we put to you earlier about how to address this disparity in our laws to do with the age of 18 or is it 14. So start from there, and then we'll now look at this whole issue of delayed cases in courts. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I was off briefly. Let me first of all start with the Interministerial Management Committee, which was set up by the Honorable Attorney General. The essence of it is it has always been a situation in which all the MDAs, that's ministries, departments, and agencies, are working in silos. So in attempts to unite all of us together to have a common front, that is why we have the Interministerial Committee, which comprises of the Ministry of Justice, taking the Ministry of Women Affairs, Health, Nigerian Police, Legal Aid Council, National Human Rights, NAPTIP, that's a national agency for prohibition in trafficking persons. Then Nigerian Bar Association is also part of this committee, and representative of the SGV and the National Orientation Agency. And essentially, what we are trying to do is to have to conduct a review of all existing and policy instruments touching on rape, child defilement, gender-based violence for adequacy, and a situation analysis to understand the proposed necessary legislative changes to bridge the gaps between the policy and implementation. And while we are doing that one, we're also trying to liaison with the National Assembly to ensure that all those laws that we are reviewing to ensure that they are adequately attended to. And also, we also
do you have a time frame? Apologies. Do you have a time frame for this review?
National Prevention Strategy, which covers from 2021 to 2025, and we are also considering in the committee a comprehensive investigation and preservation of evidence to support successful prosecutions of all cases of gender-based violence. And we're also developing a framework in management and utilization of sexual offender registry. Incidentally, the governor of Ekiti State has already thrown one, like I said, led it, of which I was, even in 2013, I was part of it because I was the Solicitor General then. Then what we are now trying to do is to improve on that one. And in improving on that, we had a meeting of all the attorneys general of the Federation with the Honorable Attorney General sometimes in June. And what we did was to now use that platform as an opportunity to discuss each and every the cases. You have to remember that most of these cases are state offenses, and the best we can do is when we come together, that's all the attorneys general, it will go a long way. We are also
sorry, apologies. Before you go into what else, sorry, if you can hear me, I hope you can still hear me. If you can, if I can just stop you for a second there, if you can hear me. I heard about the review you're trying to do. But the bigger question is, do you have a time frame for this review? Because as the review is going on, the rape cases are going up. The ones that are in court are stuck there. So one of the bigger questions is it time for us to have some sort of a special court to quickly dispense with such cases while you're doing this review? Because the cases are not waiting for this to come through.
There are two issues you have to also look at when we're looking at that. That has to do with investigation. It is not enough to take his case to court. We also have to look at a very investigation. If you don't have good investigation, it becomes an issue. And investigation is fund. We need funding. And the funding is what we are also considering as part of our strategy, that if you have adequate funding, the issues of prosecution will be faster. And the Administration of Criminal Justice has already made things easier to do cases expressly, but the issue of funding has to be really addressed to ensure that the police that are coming to give evidence in court are available when the courts are sitting, that the magistrates that are going to attend to this case or the High Court, that the courts are they are not, there's no congestion. So this is, it's not just one question, one approach. We have to look at the court, we have to look at the police, we have to look at even the congestion of the prisons. So this it's a major issue in which each and every one of us have one role to play in the issue.
I'm glad you mentioned
doing that one, we have already set up a subcommittee to look at the laws, and they're already working on it. We're also having a subcommittee on awareness and advocacy. And also another issue is the data. The issue of data is also very, very important to actually know we already have data, but the question now is the Women Affairs has their own data, the police have their own data, if the Bureau of Statistics also their own data. Until we have a unified data to be able to identify this, I think these are issues which we consider would be very useful in combating it. And while we are doing that one, we also have to think of the monitoring and evaluation to know what are the achievements we are able to, what we can really pinpoint to. But more than anything, there should be funding for this separately.
Okay, I'm glad you've given us all that, and I'm happy you talked about congestion of prisons as well in part of your statements. We're going to get to others in a moment, but there was an issue that came up among gender rights groups around the time. I mean, in this whole discussion of an all-inclusive interministerial committee, is there synergy between all the different agencies that form it? Because some had said that during the COVID-19 lockdown, and in the spirit of decongesting prisons, some people who were released were those who have been convicted of rape or waiting for their convictions to come through. And these are people who are dangerous to society. Are they looking at that at all, so that we're not just working across purposes?
Yes, thank you very much. We are already working with the correctional services as it relates to the congestion at the same time as to those who are to be taken into the prison. You can see that at least for now, we have not been able to have any issue of viruses or COVID-19 in the prisons, because it has been well managed. If you have, before you go to prison, whether it's a waiting trial, you are tested, or you first of all isolate for 14 days. So these are issues which are being looked into between the police, the Ministry of Justice, and the correctional services.